This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're still coming to you from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And for those of you joining us around the world are probably saying, well, where is Hamilton? We know where Canada is. Where's Hamilton? All right, on your map you find Toronto, Ontario. It's on Lake Ontario. And then you find Niagara Falls, which is also on Lake Ontario. And smack dab in the middle is Hamilton. Now, you have to bear with me for a second here, X-Zone Nation, because I've got to try and explain to you what we're doing here. My guest this hour is Stacey Demarco. Now, she is in tomorrow, when it's actually today, and it's not springtime where Stacey is. It's getting into fall. Now, are you confused yet? Oh, darn it, you figured it out. That's right. Stacey is in Australia, and we're going to be talking about paganism, Wicca, and much more this hour. And first of all, Stacey, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Stacey, tell us a bit about yourself.
Gosh, I live in Sydney, Australia, as you said. I am what you would term a modern witch, which is a part of the pagan path. I'm an author. I take people on adventures all over the world, connecting them with nature. I'm I would say, a fairly ordinary person with an extraordinary belief system, probably.
What drew you to paganism and Wicca or witchcraft? I'm sorry, I shouldn't assume that. Are you a witch or are you Wiccan?
All right. Oh, great question to start with, Ron. Because there's a lot of misunderstanding about what Wicca is and what witchcraft is and what paganism is. So would it be useful if I kind of made some definitions about that, Rob?
Let's do that.
All right. So let's look at paganism, because that's the easy one. That's the umbrella term. So if you think about Christianity as being an umbrella term describing faiths that believe in Christ, paganism is an umbrella term for earth or nature honoring spirituality. So underneath that, it's massive if you think about it. So your First Nations people, for example, would be under that, indigenous practices of all kinds, things like Druidism, animism, and then you've got all the shamanistic practices, of course, and then you've got witchcraft under there. Okay, so witchcraft is an earth, nature honoring spirituality. And then underneath paganism, underneath that witchcraft tradition, you have witches. Now, there are different kinds of witchcraft, different kinds of traditions, and Wicca is one of them. So you could be a witch and not Wiccan, but if you're Wiccan, you are a witch.
All right. And are you a witch or a Wiccan?
I'm a witch.
Okay.
I'm what you would call an eclectic solitary, which means I pick the eyes out, I guess, like cherry picking out of a lot of the traditions. And I have a special interest in, for example, the Norse traditions as well as the English traditions, obviously. But yeah, I wouldn't describe myself as Wiccan, although I do use some of the Wiccan techniques in my practice.
So are you a solitary practicing witch, or are you a member of a coven?
No, I'm not. See, majority, and this is one of the wonderful kind of stereotypes, or not so wonderful stereotypes. Most witches these days would be solitary practitioners, meaning they practice solo. Then, of course, there are covens, and there are people also don't necessarily call them covens. There's temples. So, for example, I was temple trained. So there was a particular an Artemistic coven or temple that I was interested in based on the goddess Artemis. And so I went through, that was one of my trainings, for example. But most witches would not belong to covens.
You and I have to take our first break. Please stand by. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Stacey Demarco. And Stacey's website is themodernwitch.com. And Stacey and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. If you'd like to check out the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Check out all the great programs we have, 724, 365 for you, the members of the X Zone Nation. And, of course, you can always send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back, everyone. Stacey Demarco is our special guest this hour, www.themodernwitch.com. Stacey, are more and more people entering the world of paganism?
Yes. We have had a huge increase in America, Australia, Iceland, and your own country. Mm-hmm. There's a huge interest in paganism again. And I say again because it is the oldest kind of veneration of man on the planet. It's very old. It's so old we don't know how old it is. And I think the reason for that is I think that the big organised religions they're not. I think a lot of people are not really feeling that they're answering everything that they would want as a seeker.
Yeah.
A lot of people are yearning for some sort of connection with, I think, the earth itself, something very simpler with a lot less dogma, and I think paganism, answers that, and also paganism is really inclusive. So we take, we have a little joke that we take everyone, that it's there's no sort of rules and regulations that, if you're gay, we don't want you, or if you're a single mum, we don't want you. There's none of that kind of restrictive dogma. So, we have a very big, thriving community, in particular amongst the young people are coming into this, which is in the last sort of 2 years, I've never seen such interest.
Why is it then throughout history witches have been the target of discrimination, witch hunts, and everything negative? Where did this bum image come from?
Yeah, well, the way I describe it when I'm teaching is, we've had a couple of 1,000 years of bad PR, right?
Yeah.
It's really bad. Look, it's kind of simple. For a very long time, we didn't have bad PR. Witchcraft, the pagan practices, that was the accepted way. It was only until we had some monotheistic religions like Christianity come over the top. And there's a great saying, and it's that the angels of one religion become the devils of another. So, when there's a pressure to convert, when, the powers that be say, all right, so for example in Europe, all right, well now the religion is Christianity and, we're going to go softly at first. We're going to let you combine both, because don't forget the pagans were the country dwellers. This religion, our faith came from the earth, came from the farmers, came from those sort of people. So it was, Christianity came from the city. So at first it was like a city-country battle in a way. So it wasn't life or death. But after a while, the pressure was that you converted or you died. And so there was a lot of negative publicity. Let's make this modern. There was a lot of, if a whole bunch of women met in someone's backyard, in someone's field to try and get the plants growing, her corn to rise, well, they would do this lovely old ritual around the besom, the broom, and they would jump the broom to try and show the corn how high it was to grow. Very harmless, very beautiful. But of course, from a distance, it looked like the women were flying over the cornfields, right? So therefore, that was considered something that women would do at night to dance with the devil. And the odd thing, Rob, Christianity has a construct of the devil, right, of Satan.
Yep.
And we don't. So this idea that we dance with the devil, or we are, we're in league with the devil. I get, accused of, oh, you're all in league with the devil. We don't even believe in the devil. So it was a combination of I guess bad PR, this idea that if you were part of the old ways, therefore you were against the new ways. So therefore, against the new ways with Christianity meant you must be in league with the devil. And also, I mean, you would know this. Anyone who has any kind of grasp of European history knows that it was also very, very convenient to accuse, say, a single woman or a widowed woman with land of being a witch, because guess where that land went to?
Yep.
It either went to the church or it went to the accuser. So, there was pretty good financial reasons to accuse your neighbor of witchcraft.
And yet we know today that some of the greatest organizations on this planet today who fight for, Mother Earth, including the people at Greenpeace, are Wiccans, are witches, who respect Mother Earth and the wonderment that she provides us, because if, Mother Earth sustains us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a very big kind of theme throughout our practice of reciprocity, that we get so much from the earth. She gives us the air we breathe. She gives us our food, our water, our sustenance in every way, our shelter, all those wonderful things. Yet in our society, we are very disconnected about how that happens now. And so we don't think about what we do. We litter, we put our garbage in the oceans. I don't need to tell you. So I have a very strong theme in my practice, and I'm an activist, as you know, and lots of other things, that it's very important as a pagan that I'm out there educating, that I'm out there going, all right, how about you connect with the earth again? How about you fall in love with what you've got? And therefore, there's less chance that you'll trash it. So there's a really high proportion of us that are, say, vegetarian or vegan. Mm-hmm. There's a high proportion that are, highly educated, and as you say, that are actually in jobs that are around activism or the helping professions. We even have a really high percentage of people that are in the military that are pagan or Wiccan, and that's this whole idea of the protection of others and the protection of the earth or the planet. It's a very strong theme that goes all the way through most traditions.
But how do we keep protecting Mother Earth when we keep raping her each and every minute that, around the clock? We rape Mother Earth of the nutrients. We rape Mother Earth of the oil. We murder senselessly her creatures, I should say, that she's created.
And this is where I think if you are a practicing pagan, and you're not just saying, oh, I'm dressing up in the cool witch outfit, which, by the way, I don't do. It makes your lifestyle different naturally. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I'm not out here to say everyone needs to have this particular lifestyle. What I'm hearing and what I try and educate when I teach is that you need to be mindful of it. You need to understand what you're doing. That, one of the key things I get students in the beginning to do is to garden. And I know that sounds, how is that connected? Actually putting your hands in the dirt and taking a seed and growing it and seeing how much effort and love has to go into you producing your food, it actually makes people think, gosh, I need to be giving back. It's this idea of reciprocity in a practical way, not just in this sort of dumb headspace. And yes, we are raping, we are pillaging. The sort of the US has just repealed a whole bunch of environmental laws, for example, which is horrifying. People still not thinking that global warming is real, all those sort of things. For me, and a lot of pagans, we're like, the time is over for us to pretend nothing is wrong. Okay, the time is over for debating.
Yeah.
We're just out there taking action. We're out there educating. We're out there doing, just on a spiritual level, giving energy back to the earth, raising power ourselves and giving it back to the earth. And then on a really practical level, I have a non-for-profit which we're working with called Nature Luster, and that whole idea of that is, you go out and you repair. Right, so the idea is you've got something that's damaged in your area. You can replant, you can re-nature it, and that's we have small groups that go out there and guerrilla garden. We have it's not doesn't have to be a big drama. You just go out there, you go to your council. I don't know how councils in other countries work, but in Australia, we go out, we apply, we've got insurance. We say, hey, this area here in the neighbourhood, it's looking pretty bad. There's no trees. There's we're going to go out there and we're going to re-nature it for you for free.
Man, I think
put the big for free on there, and they little eyes glisten and their ears prick up. So, we can start small. Not everyone has the time or the inclination to be an activist, but we can all do our own, activities to give back to Mother.
I totally understand the growing of plants from a seed. This time of year, I've already got my little tomato seeds that have been planted. They're germinating, they're starting to grow, and then I transplant them into the backyard. And nothing gives me the biggest pleasure when I see that first little flower coming, because I know that tomatoes are next. My wife thinks I'm nuts. I come in all dancing around. Look, we're going to have tomatoes.
No, you're not nuts. You're pagan. Look, it's really funny. Someone said to me the other day, "How do you know you're pagan?" And I said, well, look, it is a label like anything else. But sure. I said, if you get more connection and joy and love from nature and watching things grow and being in the ocean, most surfers in my country, I'm not spiritual at all. But I'll tell you what, you see them in the ocean and you see the energy of the watermen out there doing what they do. And, that's pagan. That's paganism. That's honoring the earth and everything we've got. And, that joy that you have in seeing the little tomato flowers come up. I mean, that's the joy I have every day in going outside and connecting with nature. It's exactly the same.
Wow. I must be pagan. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to call myself a pagan from now on. And it's so funny. We talked about the other religious philosophies. And look how much paganism has actually been incorporated into Christmas.
Well, we have Easter coming up.
Yeah, that's right.
Where do you think the Easter bunny came from, and where do you think the eggs came from? Has nothing to do with the resurrection of Christ. Mm-hmm. There were things that were already in place before Easter was put in at that time. So there's so much paganism in Christianity, but not everybody knows that.
I think they know it, but they don't want to accept it.
Well, it's that again. We're talking about what is fact and what is faith, I suppose, or both.
Yeah.
You only need to look at history. You only need to go talk to an archaeologist. Any archaeologist, and they'll give you the unbroken line. But
history lies. History lies. The educational systems lie.
Yes.
We somehow manipulate that round peg to fit that square hole because we need to do it that way. So, people still think that kids are still being taught that Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. So, That's just one example of how history lies. You and I have to take a break. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Stacey Demarco. Her website is themodernwitch.com. And Stacey and I will be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, if you'd like to find out more about Stacey, her website is www.themodernwitch.com. And maybe you too, like me, are a pagan. Food for thought. There's nothing wrong with helping Mother Nature and taking care of her, because Mother Nature always takes care of us. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Dreams are our personal gateways into infinite wisdom. Don't miss shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Corcoran's inspiring book, Shamanic Awakening Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles Sandra's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers and her initiations throughout the Americas and across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt. Sandy's knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private tarot readings, international journeys, a meditative CD, as well as her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate this earth walk, creating a deeper connection to yourself and all that is. Find this and more at Sandy's website, starwalkervisions.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. Stacey Demarco is our special guest. Stacey is joining us from Sydney, Australia this morning, or tonight, or yesterday, or tomorrow. I've lost track. We are talking about paganism, and if it wasn't for paganism, and their love for nature, Mother Earth, and their ability to use what Mother Earth has provided us, there'd be no pharmaceuticals, gang. You know, the first naturopaths were pagans because they understood the connection, the grounding. And Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today and helping us get this important message out there. Have you ever been victimized by people or discriminated against because you are a witch?
Yeah, look, no one likes to talk about this stuff, but look, I'll say a couple of things.
Okay.
When I first became a witch, and I came from a very rational corporate background, I wrote a book. I became, all of a sudden, I was out of the broom closet, as we say, and so all of a sudden people sort of knew me as a witch. There's that witch. I got because it was a bestseller. I was on TV, and all of that. Well, I got my garbage bin burnt. I got my house graffitied. And it just made me a lot more aware of my own privacy, and I had to tighten all that up. But that I think over 10 years of educating, and we try and do a lot of work in this country to try and break down those old stereotypes. That is eased off a little bit. However, there's not a day goes by that I don't receive. There's no other way of putting it. Hate messages, via my social media network, or just email from my website, and that is every single day. There's not a day that goes by. And normally, some choice Bible quote, or like this, big deal about, I'm in league with the devil, and all of those sorts of things. And unfortunately, I would love to say that's going to change, but so consistent, and I think people like that are extremists, and that's never going to. That's their their paradigm, and I just don't think that's going to change. But I would say it is getting better because there are more of us out there. We used to be very much underground, and the internet changed all of that. When I first started to try to go down this path, it was very secretive. It was really underground. And we didn't have internet to link us or anything like that. So you had to, get off your backside and go and find people.
Right.
And, or find books and then try and, educate yourself through that. Now it's as simple as, going to a website like mine, or going to many other authors' websites that write about this stuff. And there's a lot of information available, much more. So to me, if there's more information, hopefully people actually understand. They take the time to go, oh, actually, they're not dancing with the devil under the moonlight, eating babies and, all those ridiculous things. But, yeah, certainly, I say that I'm pagan first, which I am. Obviously, that's the umbrella term, and that I identify as a witch. But would I do I feel the need to stand up in when I first meet someone and say, oh, I'm a witch? When someone asks me what I am, I what do you do? I'm an author. Because it's still, and there's no shame about what I do, and I'm very, very out, believe me, in my own country. Everyone, I'm known, but it's do I really want to have that conversation with somebody that really doesn't, there's no chance of me changing their mind or them having an open mind at all. And when that happens, it's really sad.
It is.
It's horrible. And, I think the worst thing that's ever happened to me in those sort of things is actually I was giving a lecture, and I won't say where, but it was a very, an educational institution, very public. And I was giving a lecture on mythology, would you believe, which is, not necessarily about witchcraft or anything like that. And I was in the middle of my lecture, and, there's probably a couple of hundred people there. And then 3 or 4 people stood up and walked to the front and then started telling me, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, which is the line out of the Bible, and that I should get out.
Get out of where?
Get out. Yeah, just stop.
Ah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you know what? I have my own way of looking at the Bible and dealing with these kind of people. And if you've got a second, I'd just like to tell it to you.
Yes, please, yes.
You know, like, here you've got a group of people, I call them Bible thumpers, who believe in a deity who claims to be the father of us all, who, when something doesn't go right with one of his children, he kills them. You know, he killed all the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. He killed everybody on earth except Noah and his family. So he killed the Egyptians, which were, according to his book, his children. So why would anyone pray to a deity that kills instead of reasons and loves?
Out of your mouth, you know. It's look, from my point of view, I often say I quite like what Jesus has to say, but I don't think that has a lot to do with Christianity. You know, like I said this to a lady the other day. I said, I quite like your Jesus. I know a lot about him, but I don't like the fan club.
You know what? And when you look at the Bible, the God of the Old Testament is totally different from the God of the New Testament. So who do you believe?
Yeah. It's very different. Look, I was brought up, you know, like a lot of witches actually. You know, we were educated as Christian. You know, so I come from one side of my family is you know, Irish Catholic, crazy Irish Catholic. You know, so I was brought up in the thankfully in the Franciscan tradition, the most pagan of all. You know, I think traditions, because you know. St. Francis and St. Clair, you know, how can you know, his prayers, brother, sun, and sister moon, it started off with that. So I think there is some beautiful parts of Christianity and some amazing tenets. But this, as you're saying, this very Old Testament, very rigid, dogmatic, harsh thing, you know, that is possibly why, you know, they're losing so many people.
Well, sure, because the world is changing, but their story hasn't.
Yes.
There hasn't been any updated versions.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are really proud in a way of, you know, we have great diversity. You know, I'm always nervous when I'm on a show like this because, you know, I don't, this is my view, you know, there is such a diverse range of pagans and diverse range of witches. And our diversity, you know, you can follow many paths or you can follow one and, you know, it's all wonderful. But it can also be our weakness, this diversity, that when you look at something like Christianity, you know, people identify as Christians and therefore, you know, there's a strength in that. With us, it's very broad, and you know, people say, "Well, how come, you know, if paganism was so strong, how come Christianity was able to go over the top?"
Well, it's very simple. Their marketing ploy was better.
Exactly.
You know,
we're not interested in being evangelical. We don't knock on doors. You know, we definitely don't knock on doors. You know, looking for people.
But you know what I've noticed, and I've had the pleasure of having many people who are pagans on the show, Wiccans on the show, witches on the show. And I've also had members of other religious philosophies. And I have never, ever in my life heard anyone, you know, I've never heard a pagan say, you know, God, you know, thank God for this, or the devil made me do it. There's no good and evil deities. And you know what? When you look at this, it's my way of saying, all right, you're not you're deflecting the guilt. You're deflecting your mistakes. You're not taking responsibility. And I've never heard a pagan use anything like that.
Ownership of, personal ownership. Like if, gosh, you know, I could be talking to you for days, Rob, you know, it's so exciting. But when we look at the very, well, I believe anyway, when we look at the very heart of witchcraft, the kind of witchcraft that I think is powerful and empowering for people, it's a personal responsibility, a self-responsibility. It's sort of, you know, in a way like an extreme ownership of, you know, all right, well, I did this, I've got to find my part in it. Or, there's a sort of very practical, magical part about building yourself from the inside out, and therefore you're not influenced by people pressuring you or the blame game.
Yep.
Like when I hear, I have clients and, I hear someone going down the track of it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. The thing that we're taught to do is to bring it back. Well, what was your part in it?
Exactly.
And sometimes, in rare circumstances there isn't, but still, what can you control, right? What is, there's things in the world that we can't control, and there's some things that we can.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try and influence the things that we can.
So what do pagans believe happens when we die?
Right. Well, here again, I'm going to go into the diversity of it. So, if you're a Native American pagan, you're obviously got a very different view than if you're a druid or an animist or something like that. From witches' point of view, again, it's very broad. Some people believe, that I can tell you that the Norse, the people that follow a Norse path, they might say, well, when I die, I'm going to Odin. I'm going to Valhalla, or I'm going to hell, and hell doesn't mean Hell. Hell means the goddess Hel of the underworld. I'm going to go down there. And if you're say, you follow the European, of maybe the English or the British, you might think that you go to like a heaven, and I hate to use that word because it's really not the word, but the afterlife, and that you're reincarnated, perhaps your soul comes back as something else. But again, I really want to emphasize with your listeners is that this is such a broad, diverse path, and it depends on which path you go down, what you believe. So there's a lot of pagans that are that go down a psychic development path, that believe that, in mediumship and things like that they can speak to the dead.
Right.
The word witch, for example, means weaver between the worlds. So all of us tend to do work with the underworld or the overworld, whichever way you would like to put it. We weave magic between the different planes of existence. So, for me, my personal practice, it involves gods and goddesses, it involves animal energies, it involves very strongly earth energies. I mean, one of my my oracle decks is, looks at all the ley lines and places in the world that have those sort of energetic elemental powers. I find great energy can be had if you know how to tap into it in different places on earth. So Again, I hate to be vague. I hope I'm not being vague. But
no, you're not.
It's just, it's very broad. I've got a friend who believes, very much in the kind of afterlife. You die, your soul goes to the next life. It hangs around there. It has a little contract about what it wants, and off it goes. And then I have another friend who's kind of almost like an atheist witch who goes, yeah, you know what, I believe in the scientific thing that energy never sort of, never goes anywhere. It gets transformed, and I believe that we die, and that's it.
Our very special guest, Stacey Demarco, will be back with me on the... Stacey Demarco will be back with me on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Hi, everyone. Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well, now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A Soul Balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world. There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the 4 corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Exonation, Stacey Demarco is our very special guest this hour. She's joining us from Sydney, Australia, and her website is themodernwitch.com. First of all, Stacey, thank you so much for joining us. A great pleasure having you here on the show. What do members of the pagan community think about Halloween and the way it's been commercialized?
Well, I think, again, we've got probably two groups of thought, okay? I'm going to give you my group of thought. I think it's awesome, okay? Because the more people talk about Halloween and the more they go out and practice it and, go out there with their outfits and trick-or-treat, which is very much part of the old tradition. And that just takes away the fear of what we are and what we do, okay? And it's the one night of the year that I get to dress up, like, with my big hat and my black dress, and all the kids in the neighborhood know they've got a real witch, and it's a great way for me to bust the stereotypes, right? The other kind of thought around this is that people have made it too commercial and they forget what it's really about, which is this idea of death being part of life and that we can laugh at death. And we can honor our ancestors and all those wonderful things. So it just becomes this other night where everyone hits the sugar and buys lots of candy. I think I love Halloween. It is our witches' New Year. The traditional name for it is Samhain, and it's an extremely old festival. But I love it because I think death in particular is a taboo in our society. We medicalize death now. It's something to be hidden, whereas our ancestors' death was part of life. People died all the time in their houses. We saw dead bodies all the time. It was something that was just part of life.
Right.
So anything that can kind of get us into a conversation of talking about death or honoring that everyone's going to die and we shouldn't be frightened of it, I think that's a great thing.
I've got a different way of looking at death and life. Once again, maybe this is because I'm a pagan. I look at Mother Nature, and Mother Nature teaches us everything we need to know. There are 4 seasons. You've got the spring, where the life starts. You've got the summer, you're in the prime of life. You've got the fall, where you're kind of getting old, and then you've got the winter where you pass. But what happens? It doesn't stop there. It goes right around. And another way I look at life is that right now, we're the caterpillar. And as we get ready to transform and go to our next level or our next reality, our next dimension, we enter the cocoon. And when we leave the cocoon, we're in a new environment. Or another way I like to look at life is that I just imagine a room filled with books on a bookcase. And right now, I'm in one of those books. And when I finish this life, I go into the next book.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And look, our ancestors would look at Halloween or Samhain at the time. Don't forget, it was in winter. It was very cold. It was coming into the death time. And they would look at their fields, and their fields would be empty, fallow at that time, okay? So we see Halloween, the whole death thing, as the beginning.
Yes, it is,
we start with death. We don't start with birth. We start, all right, we've got nothing. Isn't this great? We've got soil. We can plant what we want. Here it is. Isn't that exciting? Let's be curious about what's next. So it's a very different way of thinking about it. I have a young student at the moment. It's like, how come our New Year, which is New Year, is Halloween? Like, that's a really, it's cold and horrible. And it's like, hang on, no. This is the void. You're starting with nothing. And isn't that the most possible? There's so much opportunity and possibility in that nothingness. So then they get it. Oh, okay, we start with a fallow field. It's beautiful.
How is a pagan burial different from, let's say, than a Christian burial?
Well, gosh, obviously there's none of the Christian
dogma.
Dogma. I don't want to use the horrible word dogma. Ritual, let's call it that. It's a different set of rituals.
Right.
And again, it depends on what kind of a pagan you are, but it's always a celebration. It's always an honoring of going back to the mother's arms, going back to her womb. Someone said to me the other day, how do you want to be buried? And I want a Viking funeral. I want to be on the boat. I want someone to shoot the arrow. I want the flames. I want to go, in a fun way, where people can, honor, if they feel like it, their experience, that we had together as friends or family or whatever. But,
right.
It really is for me about returning to the mother.
It seems that in today's society that the funeral is for the living and not celebrating the life of the one who's passing on and going to the next part of the journey.
Yeah. Well, we have, depending on your tradition, there is amazing rituals and beautiful ceremony. I went to a funeral a couple of years ago where, if you imagine, one of the symbols of the pagan path, of the witchcraft path, is the spiral, of course, the goddess spiral, going outwards. Well, everyone walked the spiral for this person inwards. So instead of being expanding, they were going back to the navel, to the omphalos, the Greek word for the the navel of the earth. So this person was going back, the opposite way to being born. It was just very, very beautiful. And a lot of these traditions are actually taken, like that one was actually taken from a tradition from ancient Greece. So one of the key things I say to people is, if you're really interested in this path, if you're listening to this and it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting, is that you go to some of the old original source texts, and they're very easily found on the internet now. Gosh, I used to have to go to a library and order things in, and now you just do a Google search. But if you want to look at ancient Greek rituals, look at ancient, Egyptian rituals, look at, there's so much that we have now, the Druid work, there's just so much there. So, if you know someone, who's looking for something different in, a birth ritual, a death ritual, or any kind of rite of passage, paganism, I can tell you, has fantastic rituals.
I think when anybody thinks of the Druids, they think of Stonehenge. Is there a Stonehenge in Australia?
No, but we have our Indigenous people are the oldest continual culture on the planet. So they have a fantastic mythos, a system of what we call the dream time. Right. So it's incredible, and their artwork is amazing. Of course, I'm sure most people have seen our Australian Aboriginal artwork, and it's all earth orientated. It's all, the animals are all, the rainbow serpent who created our Australia. So, we are a little bit like Canada in the sense that, we are a very multicultural country. So we have just about everybody and everything. But if we look at our Indigenous culture, they're very much to be proud of, because it's as I said, the oldest continual culture with amazing oral tradition of storytelling.
What are your final thoughts for the X-Zone Nation tonight? What would you like to tell our listening audience around the world about paganism?
I think there's two things. One is, I don't want you to be afraid of witches, of us. Paganism is a very broad church, so to speak, right. and if anyone sort of would like a one-liner, I always say to someone, look at that tree over there, I'm the same religion as that tree. That's what it is. There's nothing to be afraid of. And then the second thing is that please begin to rebuild your connection with the earth, and do that in real ways. Many people are out there saying, oh, yes, I give energy back to the earth, I meditate for her, I do all those things. But you know what? We need to be out there right now. We need to be fighting for her. We need to be defending her. And I think the step one of that is actually falling back in love with our birthright as humans, and that is to be as part of the planet in a very real way. So, even if you don't feel that you're pagan, the very fact that you are connecting with the planet and that you are gardening, or that you're out doing reciprocity work, or you're actually going out and doing, and I'm going to be very daring here, Rob, and say being civilly disobedient at times to protect the earth. Please go out and do it. I fully, I said this to my teaching group the other night, that I fully expect that I will be probably arrested at some stage in the next couple of years demonstrating against something, and I think the more of us that the more of us that really feel that way, I do feel we are the majority, but we're just not out there. So, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. But why would they arrest you when they don't arrest other members of other religious philosophies?
Well, yeah, look, I don't know how many Christians are out there right now demonstrating against, oil fields and, all that kind of stuff, but more and more pagan people are, because it's sort of breaking tenets that we hold very dear. So, not protecting your local waterway, or, we recently had a very controversial thing in my country in Sydney where they chopped down 200-year-old trees for no reason, and they did it at night, at like 2:00 in the morning, so the demonstrators had left for the night. So, there's those sort of things are happening, and more people are going, actually, this can't happen anymore. So, and a lot of those people are discovering that they have a spiritual practice that doesn't fit into the mainstream, and that they realize, maybe actually I'm pagan,
Listen, you and I have to say so long for now, my new pagan friend. And we'll have to have you back on. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for what you and the other pagans are doing to help keep this beautiful planet of ours available for eons to come. Thank you so much. Exonation, if you'd like to get more information on Stacey, visit her website, themodernwitch.com. My name's Rob McConnell. This is The X Zone. Don't go away.